All right, let's call to order the Cochise County Jail District Work Session for Wednesday, July 23rd. We're meeting in the Board of Supervisors hearing room. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting. Any item listed is open for discussion. Please note that the attachments may be updated after the agenda is published, meaning presentation materials displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from what the attached versions were on the website. Members of the Cochise County Board of Directors will attend either in person or via remote conferencing. Members of the public may also attend via Microsoft Teams with a mobile app. Work sessions are a time for county staff to inform and discuss agenda items with the Board of Supervisors and the Jail District Board, and public comments will not be taken. We'll begin with a roll call. District 1, District 2,
Gomez.
and District 3. Antonori's here. All supervisors are present and in person. And we'll begin with introductions going around the table. We'll start off with Ms. Gilman.
Sharon Gilman, County Administrator, and I'm going to let Phil introduce the team.
Okay, Phil Burdon, Project Manager. We have Shannon Lodmell from Vanir, Mike Beaver, and Cody Newsom from Vanir. Vanir is a construction construction management firm that was selected during a qualifications-based selection process to possibly provide owners representative services for your jail project.
And we got Commander Bradshaw here too, just for the record. So all right. So why don't I go? Well, should I go to Phil? Do you want to say anything before we hand it off to begin the presentation, or?
Well, the only thing I would say is, Chairman, members of the board, again, you completed in May your planning study, which is one of the first steps in a jail study, which defines things like number of beds that you would want to construct, other methods that you might want to implement in the future to reduce and keep down your jail population. So that study has been completed and provided to your staff and you to move forward with not only this part of the project, which is to move forward with design and construction, but also implement other recommendations that came out of it, again, to keep your inmate population down as much as possible, because that's the key, is when you start designing and constructing a jail facility, is to make sure you're constructing the least amount you need. So we went through a qualifications-based selection process, which is the required process for bringing these professional services on board for an owner's representative, which provides a third-party representative for you, the Board of Supervisors, on a project. And they're here to provide you a presentation, and at the end, I certainly will help make a recommendation on a way to proceed.
All right. So who's going to run it?
I'll start it.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, first, yeah, thank you guys for having us here today. We're excited to be here, excited to get going. We'll tell you a little bit more about ourselves first, but I'm Cody Newsom. I'm the Mountain Region Area Manager for Vanir, and I'll be your principal in charge for the new jail project. I'm a licensed engineer. I've got just over 20 years experience in the industry and have managed over 800 million in justice projects. And actually, most of my work has been in the public realm, so like 98% of my projects. So definitely understand the shoes you're sitting in, the importance and responsibility of protecting taxpayer dollars. So again, excited to be here. It's what I've been doing my whole career. I love it.
Chairman, members of the board, again, thanks for having us. My name is Mike Bieber, and I will be the project director for the project. My experience, I've been in the detention industry for 38 years. Of that, 36 years was working for the California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. I started out as a correctional officer, so I was down there turning keys. I, interacted, communicated with inmates. I promoted up through the ranks, sergeant, lieutenant, associate warden, all the way up to the director of our department or planning construction management. During that time, I assisted in delivering $6 billion worth of projects, detention facility projects. That's where I became intimate with Vanir, because probably 10 to 12 years of that, maybe more, was I was the owner and they were the owner's rep. So I've been in the owner's shoes, and now I've been with Vanir for a couple of years, and I am the owner's rep. So, but that had experience in budgeting, staffing, operating, and running detention facilities.
My name is Shannon Lundell, and I'll be the project manager on this project. I've been in the industry for 18 years, and all of those serving as an owner's rep. I take great pride in the fact that majority of those years have been as a through public procurement projects. So I do have a great understanding of the need to protect the taxpayers' money and to guide them through a successful project.
So our goal today is really just to help describe what is an owner's rep. What do we bring to the table? What's our value? So as you probably saw, we have a couple slides just to introduce you to Vanir, who we are, what we do. And then we'll jump into the value of an owner's rep, some of our scope of services. And then at the end, I do have a slide on delivery methods. We can talk more about the different delivery methods and some of those values. So we do want to be interactive. If you guys have questions, feel free to jump in as we're going. We will save time for Q&A after as well, but get started. See, do I like this? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so Vanir. We're a minority and woman-owned program, project, and construction management firm. We've been in business just over 60 years and have delivered over $31 billion in projects nationwide. So we help both public and private clients just navigate through the full life cycle of the project, or project life cycle, I guess, and help protect budgets and reputations, and again, understand what you guys are going through. Of those 60 years, we've been managing justice projects for over 42 of them. And so digging deeper into justice, we have managed over 630 justice projects nationwide, totaling over $12 billion in construction value. Of those projects, over 340 have been adult and juvenile detention facilities, over 85 courthouses, and over 100 public safety facilities. So obviously our experience demonstrates, the numbers demonstrate that we have the ability to deliver secure and safe and efficient facilities. But I think one thing that's unique to Vanir is that our teams are comprised of former law enforcement that have actually operated and budgeted and managed and built these detention facilities. So we're able to, during design, we know the questions to ask. We know the importance of quality assurance during material selection and construction, how that can impact it, and then also how the operations definitely will be impacted by the built environment. So we just kind of add that extra layer of advocacy and support to you and the county and the sheriff's department to make sure that we we really have one chance to do this right. So
How many of those public safety facilities are jails?
About over 340 are, well, and I don't know just jails. So the detention, prisons, jails, detention, however you want to quantify it, but 340.
But you will see in one of the slides towards the end, there's probably at least, I want to say 25, I don't want to exaggerate, of jail-specific projects that we show as an example.
Okay.
Yeah, so then last but not least, we have been providing owner rep services in Arizona for over 27 years. So we're investing in the community, we understand the challenges and the environment. Let's do it. Okay, so major players in a construction project, where does an OR fit in? So everyone knows, the architect, engineers design the building, the contractors build the building. You get your third-party contractors that come in for their specialties like geotech, surveying, commissioning, et cetera. But the owner's reps, we're here to advocate for the owner. We make sure every decision, every dollar, every timeline serves you. So really, we're providing the oversight and alignment throughout the whole project to make sure your fiduciary needs.
That's a question. It may be a dumb question.
No.
Under owner's rep, we are the owners.
You are the owner. Yes. Yeah. So we represent you, and Shannon will go into this too, but we are an extension of you. We're representing your interests, advocating for you, making sure your budget, your interests, your goals, which we'll sit down with you and help identify what those are, and then make sure those are followed with every decision as the project goes through.
I mean, the sheriff's office would be part of this.
Yeah, the sheriff is a major stakeholder in this as well. And we will, as part of this, and again, Sean will go into the 90 days, but we will help identify all the stakeholders who has a say, identify communication lines. Like these lines here are just kind of management, not contractual. All of the contracts still sit with the owners. But yes, that's exactly right. So really, as we're helping align the project and make sure it meets your needs, it allows you to stick with your day job and your responsibilities while we're your expert construction eyes and ears overseeing a project, and then translating that back to you so that you can make informed decisions. Okay, this slide here, this is just a full scope of Vanir services. This is everything we provide. I'm not going to really go into detail, but we did want you to have the information in case additional project needs come up as we go. This is what we offer. Okay, moving right along. So our team is definitely the three of us. We will be on it from start to finish. You'll see our two faces a lot. But in addition to the three of us, we have Marlon and Richard. So Marlon is our senior pre-con manager, a pre-construction manager. And he is also former law enforcement. He has 38 years of experience in detention facilities, 21 in operations, then 17 of those in project design experience, totaling over $3.3 billion in design. So he's going to bring valuable insight during pre-con, one, to make sure that the built facility supports safe, efficient operations, and then effective programming from day one. And then Richard is our senior construction manager. He's got 44 years of experience in the industry. 18 of those years are specifically dedicated to government and military projects. And he's actually managed projects here locally, one in Yuma County, one in Fort Huachuca. Yeah, thank you. I was like, I can see it and it doesn't spell it, like, doesn't sound like it looks. But so he has experience. He knows the challenges that we face down here in getting contractors and has some pretty creative ways that they've managed that in the past. And he will be coming directly off of the Pueblo County Detention Center, which is a jail. And so he'll bring valuable lessons learned real time, very recent. So in addition to us five, like I mentioned earlier, we're full service. So we have in-house estimating, scheduling, and other services that we can utilize on an as-needed basis, which just helps us keep your costs low. But if something's needed or special needs arise, we can bring those solutions quickly.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the value of an owner's rep. So what we bring you. So as an owner's rep, Vanir will bring our expertise, we'll bring our oversight on all of this to the project and act on behalf of the Cochise County Board of Supervisors and the stakeholders as well throughout the planning, design, construction phase of the project. We want to ensure that it runs smoothly, meets the owner's goals, from the budget to the schedule, stakeholder management completely, all the way through. So in a nutshell, we look at ourselves as an extension of you. So as an owner's rep, that's what we are. We're an extension of your staff. We are you. We don't look at, we're not Vanir. We represent you, and that's our as we go through this. So our role is to complement your team by bringing our expertise, our resources needed to support the overall goal of replacing the existing jail. So some of the responsibilities that we bring. So obviously we are a trusted advocate for the county. We represent your interests exclusively. Support site selection. Obviously we realize that you guys have chosen the site. So it'll be at the current existing site. So any support as we walk through that path, we'll be there to support you on that. Risk mitigation is a huge issue. We want to start risk mitigation from day one. So it starts in the planning and it continues all the way through the construction. Next slide. We offer you guys first-time owner supports on our understanding that you guys haven't had an owner's rep before. So we will provide proven structure and bring our processes and lessons learned to the projects, both from a national level and a local level. independent oversight and accountability. So we'll bring an objective third-party review to budgets, timelines, design milestone, contractor performance, promoting transparency with all project partners involved. Budget and cost savings. So our goal is our services often pay for themselves. So we'll help avoid costly change orders, managing scope, basically tracking every dollar to ensure the taxpayer funds are well spent. And then schedule competence. We, from the very beginning, build realistic schedules and we coordinate with the agencies to make sure that we prevent bottlenecks and delays. The next slide, and Mike's going to take over for the next slide.
Yes, and you've heard us talk a lot about our specialized justice experience, and with that, we work throughout the country, so we'll bring those best proven practices to you to support your long-term needs. Part of that in the design, we want to ensure that the design will support staff operational and maintenance and efficiencies. We want to ensure durability. Detention facilities usually don't get treated as well as they should by our clientele. If you're going to spend $120 million plus, you want it to be durable and last 50 plus years. So that's one of the things we'll make sure we assist in doing with our specialized expertise. The other part of that is the cost is only one thing. We talk a lot about budget. It's very important. But your design and what we can help do is help with the design to bring operating efficiencies, because that's going to be your long-term costs. Once it's built, you got to continue to pay to operate it. The public and political competence, hiring an owner's rep, we feel puts you a step ahead in showing transparency, stewardship, and success. Because what we'll do is we will be assisting you in providing regular updates, reports, dashboards, to show progress, the project progress, and budget transparency. So for you and your constituents and the other stakeholders. You hear us talk about seamless communication and decision making. You've heard us say several times we're an extension of you. We're going to start talking in first presence. We're you, but we're also an extension of you and an independent advocate for you and the county and the stakeholders. In a project like this, a detention project, there's many specialized stakeholders, architects, engineers, there's the sheriff's office, the board of supervisors, there's other authorities having jurisdiction, fire safety. We, knowing the ins and outs of this, will assist with communications. And having said all that, the one thing we want to make clear is that we know that we serve at the will of the board and the stakeholders. So even with all our experience and everything we bring to you, this is going to be done by you, and it'll be done the Cochise way. This is a Cochise project. So what you see on this slide is a small sample of tangible cost savings that we brought to projects that we have conducted. You'll see, one of I'll give you some examples of what a tangible means of saving money as an owner's rep would be: understanding the technical aspects so that we can help negotiate the change orders and make the most of those change orders and make them cost efficient. Knowing the construction aspects of these facilities, knowing what types of materials they need and should have, we can help save money in that aspect. And one example would be on one project, we had there was 3 water tanks, and it was assumed that we had to have 3. And make a long story short, through discussions and with our fire experts, discussions with the fire marshals and the controlling authorities, we negotiated and we're still within the codes and legal requirements where we only need two. So that'll only save millions of dollars.
So what we've created here is a 90-day action plan. So our goal here was to kind of create a high-level overview of what we hope to accomplish in the first 90 days. This obviously will kind of depend on when we come into the project, but this will give you kind of an idea of what our process is. So we're going to begin with a team kickoff and startup workshop. It would include the Board of Supervisors, TAC, and any other stakeholders that you guys would like to be at the table during that. What this does is it's going to allow us to finalize roles and responsibilities, create executive reporting plans, review existing policies and procedures, and in addition, we'll sit down with you guys. I know you received the CHIN planning report, so we'll sit down with you guys and really go through it, review it, and validate it as needed. So I know that'll be a big piece of the first 90 days. So our goal within the first 90 days, we're going to be able to define the project vision, project definition, and put into place project controls, implementation plans that include finalizing contracts, delivery methods, and then creating the RFQ or RFP development for the design teams and the contractor teams. So some of the things that we do provide that are, I'll say, deliverable, that are very key parts to a project is a project management plan. So what the project management based plan is, it's a outline of the project, how it's executed, monitored, and controlled, enabling transparency and communication, which is essential for a project success. This is a living document, so meaning we constantly update it throughout the life of the project. It gives us a clear roadmap for the entire project. It'll be our guiding document for management of all phases of the project, from planning, design, bid award, construction, and all the way to closeout. And any policies and procedures Cochise County has, we implement that into the project management plan. And I won't go into all the parts and pieces. You can see there's a lot included, but you can tell it really is a living roadmap of the policies and procedures to move on. And then another piece is developing a risk management plan. Obviously, risk is a huge piece of this puzzle, I'll say. So what the risk management plan does is it outlines the strategies and procedures for identifying, assessing, and mitigating risk throughout the life of the project. So again, I mentioned this before, risk has to be considered at the very beginning of the project in the planning stages, and we'll consider this as we bring any decisions that need to be made by the Board of Supervisors. This will actually be part of the process so that you guys can make a very clear, direct decision based off of any risks that are included. By developing this plan at the very beginning, it'll help minimize the risk. It helps teams to identify potential risk factors. It quantifies the severity of the different risks. It also helps assess the probability of adverse outcomes and develop strategies to address those. And then we'll also be developing a risk register, which will actually track all those and what level of risk they are and whether they're open or closed in the mitigation plan. And then Mike.
So now we're on to the budget management. The key here is you heard Shannon talk about the CHIN planning report, and we would, sitting down with you and the other key stakeholders, primary stakeholders, we would would use the CHIN planning document as a resource, but we'll develop the Board of Supervisors.
Ignore that number in that report, though.
Well, and that's where I'm going to go with this, though.
Yeah.
We're going to develop your budget. That's why we want to sit down with you. We want to get intimate with you. We want to get intimate with the sheriff's office and staff so we can determine what our needs are. Now, you're the boss, and if you tell us to ignore it, we'll ignore it. But I believe it's a good.
I don't think we got $350 million to throw at a jail. Do you guys? That's what I'm getting.
Understood, but
right.
We've looked at the plan. It's a good plan. And when we sit down with you, part of what we would talk to you about is designing for the future also. So in looking at the bed plan and everything they called out, and I see some funny looks, but we can master plan it and then work backwards. If we know that our budget is 120 million, then that's what we're going to build. But the one thing that we saw in the report that is a good aspect is to design your core infrastructure and your core facilities to support a higher number than what you're actually your immediate needs are. So if your immediate needs are based on that plan.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree that having, for example, a kitchen capable of serving 500 inmates and a medical facility capable of serving that population, having that infrastructure there, and maybe having it partitioned and only using a third of the kitchen initially, and being able to expand if the population of the jail goes up, and then having modular jail, like a better term, the jail blocks, right? When jail block 1 is 100, jail block 2 is 100, jail block 3 is 100, and then have a special jail block for
administrative segregation.
well, no, yeah, segregated, yeah, mentally people that can't be in with the general population and whatnot, or somebody that's a very high violent potential guy, right? And you have that special block that's set up to handle that. I get that, and having the modularity to add on cell blocks if the population grows, maybe start with inmate population of 300 and then add, if you need to go to 4, add 1, or 5, add 1. I get that.
So you just saved me a lot of time because that's exactly what I would say. So thank you.
No, I got you. That was the part of what Chip put together that was reasonable was to do that. But there's a lot of fancy fluff in that.
Yeah,
I get it.
It was good. A good.
Oh yeah,
it was a good resource.
It was too good.
So
it was overwhelming with superfluous information.
So if our starting budget is 120 million, we're going to develop that as a baseline. Again, working with you, you're going to develop it with our help, and that becomes our baseline. And then that'll help us throughout the project, because when we sit down and negotiate with architects and engineers, with the contractors, we'll be using that, and then they'll start designing to it. It's going to change. It's going to be fluid, but that'll be the starting point.
So in the last 5 years, have you built a similar detention facility in that ballpark?
Yes.
300.
Like a jail in California or Texas or somewhere for about $120 million?
So it's a loaded question, only because in the last 5 years, costs have gone, exponential. So yes, and I'll go through with Hayes County. We built, that one was an addition for 192 beds, master pen for 1,100, cost 64 million. This was done in 21. So right now we're building Pueblo County.
What's the time period for that construction?
Design for it.
No, the entire time period from where you issue the RFP to you cut the ribbon.
Yep, that's that one specifically. We started in 16. It was a large master program, so we had some demos we could build. So long story short, we started construction in 17 with the first phase, and then started construction on the jail in 18, and was finished in 21.
And when?
21.
It took
So I would say in like
years.
Yeah, and again, we had 2 sites. It was a huge program. I would say on a project of this size, realistically, depending on the delivery method, because that'll impact it a lot, is that I think we could program and design in 12 to 15 months and start construction in probably 18 to 24. That would be off the top of my head, again, not sitting down with you yet and completely understanding where you sit, then that would be my best guess. Just based on $120 million, 300 bed scale. That's.
But when you did that with
We had different issues, but by the time we started construction, it was 3 years but we got hit with COVID. I'd have to check. We got hit with COVID, so our timeline got messed up due to
But there
COVID.
was some part of that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, but we were a little delayed because we were right in the middle of COVID and had problems with construction, man. But what Cody just stated is probably a reasonable timeline for a normal construction site.
And Bill just said normal project. There's really, and I think he'll agree with this, there is no, I understand what you're saying, but there is no normal project. And that's all the more reason why we'll be there to support you and become you and help with these types of issues that come up.
So you guys have a sort of library of go-to architects that you go to that are on your like preferred architect list that you put your RFPs out to, or?
I don't know if I'd say prefer. So in the detention world and industry is actually pretty small. And so there are architects that kind of do this and solely this that we work with often.
Yeah, but it's not just one.
No.
Right, there's like
we would develop
4, 6, 10.
more than, oh gosh.
I just want to toss out, at least don't let me interrupt after this. I just, you're just like we selected this group, Vanir is not under contract. They're been selected up to this point. We're governed by statute in the county on how we acquire professional services. So when we move forward with this group, you can get in under contract because we've gone through the selection process by state law. And when they run the process for an architect for you, they'll follow state law, and people will provide their statement of qualifications and goes through a selection process, and we follow state law on that procurement process. But yes, there's tons of architects that will apply that are very qualified, but we have to go through a process. They don't necessarily get to select them. The group selects them that is put together by state law.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
And who's the group? That would be the board of supervisors. And
We will develop that too. So you'll help us decide who needs to be on it.
Yeah, when we say we,
Yeah,
that would be with you.
The chairman has previously mentioned just copy somebody else's whatever we need project to save
And
Oh, like a
architectural
prototype.
costs.
There are. So a lot of the architects will come in with designs that have worked in other areas.
the beauty of that is you have a cost basis of analysis based on the design that you could use for budget planning. So if you have a jail that was built and you have a design that we could copy paste, you will probably have a pretty good idea. You can inflate it for the material inflation cost. You could probably figure out relatively accurately, plus or minus a couple $1,000,000, what that's going to cost. So that's what I'm asking, right? Rather than starting from scratch where you have all these variables and risk factors that you can't account for because you've never built this design before, having a design that's been built somewhere else where you have an idea of what those costs were would be something very helpful.
I would say, yes, it would be very helpful, but you would still want to go through the time and effort to ensure that the end users, the sheriff's.
Yeah, I got it. You can do custom mods to design. I mean, I'll give you an example. I built a custom home. I went to an architect in Nashville, Tennessee. He rolled out all of the different designs that he had. And of course, my wife said, well, I don't like this kitchen's too small. Add to the kitchen, or this is not big enough, add to this, or we don't need that, take that off, or whatever. And then he made those design changes. But he had a basis when he said, okay, this is what this house is going to cost. And then based on what changes you make, it's going to go up or down based on that. So we had a pretty good idea because this house had been built and he knew what those construction costs for that house were. So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So it's not as cut and dry as that, but we do have, our estimators have a database of just that. This is where we've done this here. This is what it costs. And we're tracking the escalations and different material cost. The architects will come in with different layouts as well. Like this is a housing unit. Do you like triangular? Do you like circular? Do you like, what supervision do you want, direct or indirect? So there's a lot of options to choose from.
Well, that'll
that
be
does-
answered by those guys. We'll let the
Yes.
sheriff's office
Yeah.
make that decision. But I'm looking at, the cost basis and what the actuals were for a previous construction process versus what we're looking at. If there's a huge variation in the design, then there's no basis for the comparison, right? So you're basically designing something that's never been built before, and you're going to go off of general accepted estimating practices to make that estimate versus having actuals from a previously constructed project. Granted, you'll have inflation due to material and labor inflation, but we could calculate that pretty accurately.
And to answer your question, it could be helpful, yes, but it's as Cody said, it's not as easy and as simple as just taking that. And I think you know this and plopping it down, in the site where you want to put it on site. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me started on that.
Okay.
That's a whole other story. But that's what I'm kind of, and just looking at ways to reduce cost and risk is having that previous experience and knowing what it costs to build X, Y, or Z part of this jail.
Yes.
I should add, I see your point, Chairman, and it's a good point. Is what I was getting at on the process that they will follow, and everybody has to follow based on state law for an architect, is you have to go through a qualifications-based selection. So you're selecting the best architect, the architects that have done the most amount of work. You're basing that selection upon the most experienced architects for a justice facility. So you get to decide, do they have experience? And they will bring their talent and say, this is what we've done in a certain area. I think this element will work well in our jail. They just meant that they have to still produce and provide those plans, but they provide all their expertise from past projects on how they did things and the cost savings associated that were implemented.
I got it. I saw the slide.
Yeah, and Phil's 100% correct. And we have that same talent and same means. And so that's where we come in when we start negotiating for, guaranteed maximum prices and things like that, and negotiating on your behalf for bringing an architect and engineer and a contractor on board.
Another question for the chair. Can you briefly go over your, what you caught? Don't go over the estimate business that you were familiar with from your.
I build missiles for a living. I don't build buildings for a living. So there's.
You know what I'm talking about? How to get your contract for whatever service you're going to provide to be guaranteed not to go over the cost.
Oh yeah, there's different contracting models, and I'm not familiar with the models you use. I just deal with the models I got to deal with when I work with the federal government to do defense contract related stuff. And there's a lot of different models where risk on who is being borne depends on the price they charge. So if I do firm fixed price, I build a lot of risk into that. And sometimes that risk materializes and I break even or lose money if the risk is bigger than I thought. Or sometimes we do an excellent job of mitigating the risks and I get a windfall on fee because I ended up pulling the project in without that risk happening. So I recover that risk as extra profit, right? Or cost plus fixed fee, or we could do cost plus not to exceed, all these different contract vehicles that start spreading the risk out where the government doesn't get all the risk or the contractor doesn't get all the risk. Because if the government gets all the risk, the contractor is going to lowball the living daylights out of it, hope that we do a lot of change orders, hope that the inflation of material goes up because he passes all that on to the government. Right, which I don't want, because then we got cost creep and we got our taxpayers going bananas because, oh, you said this is the typical federal construction project where that road was supposed to cost $15 million and 2 years later we're up to $35 million on a $15 million road because of the way it was contracted. But you don't also want to just do firm fixed price because then the contractor is going to say, well, that road's going to cost $35 million, and you got to find that median somehow. So the contract vehicle and the method of which we do that is what I'm going to be interested in. Go ahead, Phil.
And they'll go over that.
Right.
You bring up a good point is you're constrained again by this, you're a jurisdiction of the state. and you have to follow state law. And state law puts in place for public buildings like this how you can choose to construct them. And one of them, talk about risk, is a construction manager risk process that they'll.
I got you.
Yeah, and there's the 3 or so processes that you can choose to go
Risk
through.
contract is where that risk is
Yeah.
evenly spread between the government and the contractor.
And,
right?
and they help you guide
Right.
what works best for you. But what's interesting is, I always say this, private industry gets to do many things that government doesn't. We're constrained by law, and Cody and her team will go over some of the methods. And that was one of the things in the 90-day action plan, was to help you determine how you want to proceed on that. But that's a very important decision, because you picking how you proceed with design and construction of your facility, decides, is it as quick? Is it interactive between your architect and your construction team or not? So there's some value to that. And you'll hear more about that as they go through
I got
your presentation.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
Shannon, you mentioned here a little while ago, you used an adverse outcome. So it seems like what we're talking about a little bit is adverse outcomes. Could you tell us more about what you consider to be adverse outcomes, how it affects you and how it affects us?
Well, ultimately, our goal is we're here to build what you want. We're here to be stewards of your money, right? So we're going to advocate for you from the very beginning, right? If you need a timeline of this, we're going to help guide you to that timeline. You have a budget of this, we're going to help get you to that budget. Like, in the end, our goal is communication, transparency, working very closely with you guys to make sure that we advocate for whatever you need to, in the end, have a very successful project all the way around. Monitor your costs. We go through change orders as they come through to make sure that you're not getting hit with all these extra charges that's within the scope of the project. So if they have a change order that was in the initial scope, we kick it back to them and say, no, this is in your scope. We're not paying for this.
Right.
So those are some of the services we provide to help advocate for you to make sure that we have this very clear, transparent goal to get you to the end result, both from a scheduled budget and completion standpoint.
You understand the dynamics of the past district election and the up-and-coming jail district election. That is probably where you're going to find the greatest potential for the greatest adverse outcome.
I guess
He's talking about if the voters don't approve
vote
it.
and you
Yeah,
don't
then
have
that's
the
an
money
adverse
to-
outcome.
Where do we find the money? And
Yeah,
that would be, that would be something we would love to sit, well, not love, because we hope that the voters do approve.
I gotta
it.
take this.
It's not an issue, but we would sit down with you and discuss that and look for, you're so inclined, look for other means. If there's not other means, it is what it is, but
Okay, as long as it's
Yeah.
clear.
Oh, we've been,
Yeah,
so just so you know, I've been watching this process from the very beginning, from when we started preparing for the interview. And I watch your board meetings and very, very much engaged in the process and everything that's going on. So yeah, I'm fully aware of the entire situation. So yeah, I've been really keeping up on it and understand the dynamics of everything going on and going back to the voters and your decision.
I give just kind of a arbitrary kind of way to avoid that adverse outcome. If money wasn't an object right now and we were under contract and we can get on board and we can jump into that 90-day action plan, which I know we're going to go over it later again, but I would suggest at this time we look at that risk and say, okay, how do we get the voters to say yes? How do we change the no sayers to yes sayers? And what are their concerns? So we would take that risk, assess it. I truly believe from all the public projects I've done, the more the voters know and feel heard and feel, even if they don't agree with it, if they feel like they were heard and they understand that there's a response, and the more planning that has gone into it and the Board of Supervisors has done. So if we were to do that 90-day action plan, involve the voters, do community engagement, inform them, so that we call it our Wednesday morning plan, to where Tuesday it passes, Wednesday morning we get started. Wednesday morning we hit the voters with the not the voters, but the community with the RFP. It's already ready. It's already prepared. It shows that you guys have done your due diligence. We're ready. And it's not just some number that you pulled out of the air. It's a planned process. That to me would be one way to avoid that adverse outcome. So I don't know if that answers your question, but more just fully understanding where we are. If we could plan for that, then that's.
The question is, you guys have been hired, is that?
No, yeah,
Okay, so this is just a get to know possibility of you coming on board because you were chosen as that.
yeah, we've gone through the selection process. We had several firms provide statement of qualifications. They got ranked, yes. And I purposely waited till it was the right point in time following the planning study, new board in place. And then what we would do to comply with statute, state law, is if the board directed, we would bring back a scope of work and fee proposal and have it approved and move forward. And I'll bring that up at the end. But yes, they have not been contracted yet.
Have you been out to the site?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what
We have. We did our interview out
At
at
the site.
that site. Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes. So,
Good.
no, go ahead.
Okay, this diagram here,
Mhm.
is this a chronological thing or not?
No, and they overlap. It's our best ability to do it by phasing, but it's really overlapping.
Okay. So with this issue of bond planning, we talked to one company about bond planning. So you're not in competition with that bond producing company. You'll shop around or compare what you had to say to others and so on.
So if you were to hire, you seem like a PR firm to help with bond planning, or are you talking more of an architect? to
No,
help with the.
with a public finance company they would be the bond issue.
Oh, okay. So we would just work hand in hand with them to help make sure that the project and the budget fits in with those, financial recommendations or whatever its funding sources are. So we work hand in hand with all of your other consultants so that we're all on the same page, we're all moving in the same
I
direction.
understand. Now, at this point, it is not written in stone that we are going to go with the aforementioned bond producing company.
Correct. We have not gone out for a bond yet. That was information, and they provided as a consultant to us
Okay.
information, what the bond market currently is like.
I have no reason to think that they are not giving us the best deal that is available, but I don't know that. So it might be that some other company would give us a better deal. And since we're all talking about what's the best thing for the taxpayers, it would be a good idea to look at other companies besides the one that we talked to.
Presumably talk to one.
If that was your decision, we could help you do that
I understand.
as an extension of you.
Yeah, we have Frank's out of the room. This group has not talked about another bond company besides the one that we talked to. And like I said, I have no reason to think they're not doing the great.
But we would not replace, we don't do the same
Understand.
services. So yeah, we just help manage that.
I think you just brought up a great point. Their service is to be an extension of your staff and provide you that advice and review things like you're reviewing right now. So at every aspect that you just saw in that overview of services they provide, it doesn't mean you have to get that service from us. It just means they can help you with that service. They don't do the bonding, but they can help with the bonding activity or at least the review.
Let me throw out anything that I still am having trouble overcoming with the CHIN study. So much of that, on whether we're going to have 300 or 400 beds was based on actually what I see is like a whole reorganization or a whole different approach by the courts. How they're going to implement this, how they're going to, use more angles than actually, putting people in jail, blah, blah, blah. And it was pages and pages, right?
Yeah.
Of all these recommendations in which the courts, and I guess the Justice Department, could go about reducing the cost of the jail by implementing all these different procedures and processes. Who's going to talk? I mean, because to me, that seems like something that is a big chasm that we have to leap through to figure out, okay, are they going to do all these implementations that the Chin study said to minimize how many people were put in jail?
So if I may, Supervisor Gomez, that's a project that we can lead from the Board of Supervisors through me to discuss with the county attorney's office and the presiding judge and the chief probation and adult probation. And all those stakeholders have to be at the table because it's their processes that have to change. And like
okay.
the diversion court,
Exactly.
the veteran
So
court,
this is my
things like
question,
that.
because quite frankly, that should have been happening once you guys were doing all this. I don't know, how do we go? So this is another delay I see.
What?
Well, just looking at this whole process and talking with the Justice Department or the court system, because you
I
guys
think it can happen. I think it can happen at the same time.
At the same time as what?
As we go through planning and design of a new jail.
Do you
we
guys
can
deal with
also
that type
have
of
these
stuff?
conversations.
Yes, we'd help. So I think it's one very smart that before you embark in building a $100+ million facility, that you are looking at your entire judicial system and how it interacts. Are there efficiencies that can be found within the system that would save money on this end? So what you guys have done is, I think, incredible already. So we would then help, again, go through it, and it's hard for me to say because I haven't reviewed it yet, but review, what is actually feasible? What does that look like? What are the impacts to the actual built environment or the facility? What needs to be done? What is the timeline? So we would assess the whole picture of it and determine what's actually doable.
It's the other part about that, if I may, is there's going to be some unknowns, and I think you touched on it, that all these special programs are supposed to lower your population, and they're supposed to do this and they're supposed to do that. We hope they do, and that we will do some of it, but we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know for sure how much, and that's why you hear us talking about master planning and being able to, you need, it's our understanding clearly that you need a new jail based on safety, security, and maintenance, all those kind of things. So we can build something with the future in mind. I say we would look at that and help do all that kind of stuff, but always plan for what your immediate needs are, what's your current average daily population right now? 252. We talked to your folks and said, what kind of spikes do you have? What does our budget allow us to do as far as the most beds we could get to make sure that we're at least taking care of our immediate needs and planning. So like Cody said from the very beginning, we should be doing that, but planning for the future also. And if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
When we looked at that Chin plan and we talked with Karen Chin and we went over a lot of it, there like Chairman said, there's a lot of extras in that building. So when we actually sit down and we start the planning, we don't probably, there's a lot of extra staff. We don't need a receiving clerk to work in our warehouse. That's just an example. We don't need such a huge warehouse because we don't order that much stuff at one time. We order it as needed. There's a lot of extra offices, a lot of room in there without sacrificing beds. But I think that once we sit down and start planning, that we can reduce costs too.
There's different phases in the design. You start with a real schematic and you go through that, and then you go into your design documents, which gives you I don't remember the percentages off the top of my head, but you have a certain percent of the design that's done. And then you guys review that, go through, and we modify that, and then you go into the next phase, which is your construction documents, and then in the end, that's where you get to 100%. You have different phases, you review those, and then those are the ones that finally get built. So you guys have a lot of opportunity, and we'll assist you in that to move things around and change.
By this study at all. This is just all suggestions and all that kind of stuff. And so it's nothing that people already have in their mind, this is the way we're going to go. This is just off here.
There was some chairman, Supervisor Gomez. Your county manager, county administrators already looking at trying to work with the justice courts, the courts, the Supreme Courts and others on trying to implement any recommendations that would keep the population to the point where you could build what the recommendation was, I think you'll be successful. I've seen in Yavapai County, we did the same thing because we had enough time. We had our planning study, and then we started design eventually. There was enough time for our justice partners to get together and try to keep our population down.
So in going forward, say the jail, everything goes forward, we have the money. We are going to be, it's going to be clear that we're going to know everything that happens. There's going to be a report. We'll know what the county administrator is doing with, meeting with the court system. And because that's what I really think has been something that has not happened in the past, is that there's been clear, transparent accountability so that everybody knows what's going on. I don't want to find out one month down the road, oh, well, this was decided over here. I'm sorry, how you overthought me. We're doing this. I want to make sure from the get-go that this is how I feel. And I think that the transparency has to be there, and the sheriff knows what's going on, we know what's going on, and not hear it secondhand or third hand, and then try to catch up.
Well, I will leave how the reporting of Ms. Gilman and you on those activities, but I will tell you that one of the most biggest things actually we can monitor as a board over time is your jail population. So if you sit there and get a report monthly on jail population, sheriff's office, you'll see if it's increasing or keeping at the same pace. Or going down. And
I think in the beginning process, spending the taxpayers' money, deciding what we're going to do, and we have to have that there, transparent. So I don't want to know about where I should have known, and I didn't know. And that's what I want to know. What is the flow chart? What is the way of knowing what's going on so that when I have to explain to my constituents what's going on, I know what to say.
That's a good point. So can we get we're not asking for an IMS with details in it. We're like, could we get like a phasing schedule, a master phase with tentative blocks of time for each of these segments? It also would be helpful for the publicity pamphlet to have that information. How long would it take you guys to pull something like that together?
Well, what we were talking about previously is that what we're looking at is trying to bring them on as a contract and then do work for you. And that would be when they would.
I mean, out of curiosity, how long would it take you to we
can come up with a master schedule pretty quickly.
Just a phasing schedule. Not,
yeah.
I don't need all the detailed.
No, it'd be a high level milestone.
Yeah, just this is like the initial let's just say requirements development phase, right, where you have the sheriff's office and the jail telling you this is what we need, right? And you define those requirements, and then you say, okay, this is the scoping phase now. Now we're going to scope out what that's going to develop into with regard to what the jail has to be built in accordance with. And then we have the RFP bid phase, for the architects to come in, and then it's going to be a year for that. And then it's going to be, that's what I think Ms. Gomez is looking for, that breakout, not necessarily all the, this is when we lay the foundation, and this is when we put the rebar in, and this is when we're looking for that master phasing schedule, just to the big subsequent pieces and when those are planned.
Right. We could give you a pretty decent generic milestone schedule with a bunch of assumptions in it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We know it's subject to change, but just something to lay out a timeline over the next 4 years or something.
And then if we want it, so in that 90-day action plan, if we were to do that 90-day action plan, we would have a really good milestone schedule by the end of that 90-day action.
Okay. But that's kind of late. That's where we're going to the ballot with this thing. Publicity pamphlets are done August.
Yeah, early August.
Something. So that's what I
give a high level.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what so hang on now. But now with these guys, we have not put them on contract.
Correct. That's what I already said.
Yeah. How many other entities are we going to review?
They're the finalists.
Oh, so we just haven't put them on contract yet.
Right.
So they were selected as the finalists. You're still in the process of getting them on contract.
Right. We would bring that contract to the board at the earliest, the August 5th meeting, if that's the board's direction.
But I've done this before, and the government always implies, now I'm the government, which is kind of funny. I'm usually sitting on your side of the table. So where I kind of know I've been sort of noticed, I've given notice of award, which is basically what you guys have gotten. And they have me lean forward in the foxhole quite often before I actually get the contract awarded because they don't want to waste time. And that's the case here. We don't want to waste time. So if you could start thinking of that, since we're going to put you on contract anyways, that would be helpful because I would like to put that in the publicity pamphlet so that the voters know here's where we're at and the projected,
What's the timeline for construction?
here's the phases that we're going to go through. So, it's going to be 90 days to scope it, 8 to 12 months to do the architectural design, 3 months to do the RFPs and select the contractor, and then we're going to break ground on the jail on this date, and the tentative ribbon cutting hoop-de-doo ceremony will be on this date when we open the doors and start shoving inmates in there.
Done.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and they're going to be angry. What do you mean? We're paying taxes still, and we're not, where are you on this? We're going to pay taxes for forever. I mean, so giving them that kind of.
All right, and then we could add, the construction is done on this date, the tentative payoff for the bond is this date, and the tax will end on this date.
So we'll have to make an assumption on the delivery method because that will change the.
I mean, you said you did 640 something projects. I think you can relatively come into the ballpark of what you think that's gonna take, right? Mr. Crosby, yeah.
Since we're talking about this publicity pamphlet.
Right.
And to my knowledge, we have not written in stone how much is this bond going to be.
We planned between 100 to 120 million. We
Is that
still,
what we planned?
yeah.
If she's going like this.
Well, I say 100, my number's 100 to 130, but just because we have current revenue.
Well, we had the guy model.
Yeah.
What's Steisel?
The bond was 120.
What's the name of it?
Steeple.
Steeple.
Yeah.
You're right. The bond, you're talking two different things. The bond and the overall budget of the project.
Right.
The bond may be less than the budget.
Whatever it is, all that stuff has got to be as honest and as good an estimate as it could be in the publicity pamphlet. Not surprise.
No,
The
no.
amortization schedule is based on, I think, a pretty accurate. It's
We
not
did 100 and we did 120. And then
right, and then in addition is the 20 million from the state.
So that's the budget.
So that's the one.
When are we going to talk about that again? Right now or subsequent?
Well, we can talk about it after these guys are done. I don't want to keep them here unless you want to be part of that.
Eventually they will.
Yeah,
be
we're
part of
like-
it.
Eventually they will be.
Have to be.
So no, we're hiring them. So the selection's been made.
By law, I always am real big about following law. I know.
Yeah. We do too. We
It's
want
an
to follow
unusual
law
habit I
too.
have.
And
You're at a point where we're going to negotiate a final scope and
Okay.
fee
I
that's
got you.
required by law, and bring it to you, the Board of Supervisors. I'll work with them over the next weeks if
All
you
right.
want, and try to get it on.
I'm just giving them some heads up to think about,
For time
to lean
constraints,
forward in the foxhole, so to speak.
for time constraints, I want to be respectful of your time, and I want to make sure I accomplish what you need to accomplish. Can I make some recommendations
Yeah,
before they finish?
yeah.
I know they have some slides, but
I think we got the schedule till 12, right?
okay. Do we?
You guys always can go as long as you need to.
Yeah. Then let's go through the schedule. Let's go through
What time is it now?
the process.
11
and-
o'clock.
Because I have a recommendation on how to bring it to you.
All right, I got you. I'm just trying to think, and I think
Go ahead.
Ms. Gomez is on the same page here. Our constituency,
It would bring together what you need.
right, it's trying, and again, to Mr. Crosby's point, it's always comes down to the money, which is always what it comes down to, right?
And
So,
I would also say.
no, good.
You're talking about campaign and being able to take the naysayers and make them, yes, vote for it. Since we are going to probably hire you, then if you can think about that too, because I feel that we're going to have to hit the road like really hard to convince these people. And I would want to have knowledge of what this jail did from your aspect of it, so that maybe it's fresh information that could change the people who don't want to tax or don't want to do it or don't think we need it to be able to say, yes, this is why we do it.
Cody, could I have the remote for a second?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a few words.
You're going to go back to this page? Crosby and I are locked on this page. 'Cause
Never
this-
leave the circle.
this is where all the information is at on this slide right here. All the other slides are nice, but this is the meat and potatoes right here.
I
The one I was
typically
like,
do not-
man.
I typically don't jump in the middle of presentation.
Yeah,
I just want to, and I'm going to turn it back in a second, but I just want to point out, this is the most valuable slide. This right here. This is what we need to concentrate on. I did a project. I do road projects most of my life, and I felt very comfortable in designing and construction of those road projects. As a county administrator with facilities director and a team of people, including an attorney, we hired an owner's rep to work with our team, and it was the best thing we ever did because we had full-time jobs. And we would have died dealing with that architect.
No, I got you.
No, I'm just saying. So the next thing I wanted to, and some of the third-party issues, as Commander Bradshaw wanted to point out, ran into some remains of Indians that I deal with a little bit. But that was the best decision we made. And then
But they're all buried under several hundred feet of tailings, so, right? I don't think we have to worry about that.
we never deal with that. But right here, the 90-day action plan is what I was going to recommend and will recommend to you that we bring to you as soon as possible, because this would work for you all up through an election that you have in November. It would take you through some of the work directly with the Board of Supervisors. This is slide 12. It would start off with working with you, making sure you understand what's going on in the process, looking at the CHIN report, moving forward through several aspects of developing the project and getting it straight, basically putting all your project controls in place, all your technical advisory committees, the relationship between you two, understanding what the project is, making it work, getting it ready, a schedule, you'll see that master schedule development. But more importantly, right as you go through the election, you would have already prepared your documents to go out for contracting design professionals and contractors.
So that's going to come into play after we get the publicity pamphlet out.
I get that.
Yeah.
That's August. I'm talking November, because in November, if you get it approved, we would want to move forward.
This
and
is the key thing, is we want to get it approved, and this is what the next 2 months.
So this right here is already the baseline.
Yeah.
For what I'm asking for, what Ms. Gomez is asking for, right? This
Yeah.
is basically a phasing schedule right here.
Yeah.
It basically is, we just need months added to. So this is 3 months, this is 8 months, this is 12 months, this is 24 months, this is, that's
And
kind of,
that's something they could do early on, very soon.
well, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking very early on because we'd like to get this.
Certainly. What I'm saying is there's some value to eventually moving forward over the next month also towards the point in time where you're actually getting approval by the electorate, because then you could hit the ground running with your actual professionals that design.
I got you, but we got to get past the electorate first.
And I don't disagree.
Knowledge is power, ignorance is bliss. So we have two choices, right? We could provide them, we could provide them the information and knowledge, which I think Ms. Gomez's argument is some of these people are very nitpicky, right? And they're very, very astute and they like to make a lot of noise. And if they get one little iota of stinkiness somewhere, they will turn it into a giant turd. That's just it, right?
And I think the team that's in front of you have already said they would prepare that.
I got you. So that's what we're trying to say. We would like to be transparent.
I just think the key would be to make sure that is up through the election and going to accomplish a lot more work and bring you to a point where you would move forward with design and construction.
Yes,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, our frustration, or my frustration, is that there's so little time to get this, because we don't get the money. You got all this great stuff just goes down the toilet, right? And we're having to deal with a whole other issue. And I don't even want to address that now. So what I'm saying is, how can you help us get this thing to pass? And when you were talking about marketing and being able to give us information to be able to sell to people and why we need to do it, that to me is the biggest thing you can do in helping us. Yeah, we can have all these meetings and we can go forward and say we're going to get it passed. But my key thing is what can I, with your services, be able to really promote this and get this done?
You two guys understand what we're getting at, right? You're right. All right. So that's what we're just trying, so you could work that.
Yeah. And then
Right.
did the
All the way from, this is the start of the, where we are now, all the way to the bond is paid off and the tax goes away. Break that all the way with all their stuff added in between those two dates.
And I see like from now until November 4th as a whole nother ballgame, you know, to be able to get this passed so that we can do
Right.
everything else. And anything you can do to help us to be sound like we know what we're talking about, and this is a thing that's needed to be done, and we're saving the money, and we're going to get this done because, like I said, they're going to go crazy. I know the group over there, when they realize that this is going to take 4 or 5 years. So we have to explain that. We have to make them understand why it's going to take that time. But the key thing to me, that I see as the biggest hurdle is now to November 4th.
Mr. Crosby.
Mr. Antonori was my designee for the Public Input Committee back years ago now.
Yeah.
And so I have a career in the Border Patrol, 26 years. I worked for California Youth Authority, San Diego Department of Juvenile Corrections. So in the Border Patrol, I was in all kinds of jails. I was not all kinds, a few different kinds. Okay, but anyway, so in that regard, myself and Mr. Antonori, because we were working on it for years prior till now, we probably are, I don't know, more up to speed than Madam Gomez feels that she is. Is that
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that.
So my colleagues may lobby. I don't intend to lobby, and oddly, it was my district that passed it.
Yeah, and our two districts voted it down, which was kind of
That's why
funny.
that's why you feel like you need the.
Yeah.
So you were in San Diego Juvenile?
Yes,
Did you know Tim Hancock?
not by name.
Oh, okay. He was also
This
in
is
San Diego Juvenile.
Late, early 80s,
Okay.
before I went in the
I
board.
don't know his schedule, but yeah, anyway, just
Mr. Chairman,
Brandon.
for your guys' information, we provided Ms. Gomez with a lot of information that was presented.
Yeah, to get her up to
To
speed.
your committee.
Yeah.
Feed as to what was recommended, what was presented to that advisory committee that you were on and all that. So
Okay, I have a further comment, including Mr. Bradshaw, Commander Bradshaw.
Get closer to microphones so people can.
Would you care to comment on what I have written down and called the border security dividend? In other words, theoretically, you should have lower border-related inmates versus the increase in probation violator. You increase the population just since, let's say, January of 2024, 25. Can you tell us about that? Has border inmate population gone down? Have you increased probation violation?
it's both. So we haven't lost population whatsoever.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right. But the border crimes have reduced.
Okay.
I know, but just, yes, they're.
But other crime is taking its
Well,
place.
because you turned the emphasis, okay, there's a whole bunch of probation violators that need to go to jail.
To be fair, it's not the sheriff's department that determines that, it's the probation
Probation.
officers.
Okay.
They just drop them off at the jail.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, what we're talking about jail population and so on. Okay, so is this probation violator increase going to taper off?
I could tell you.
Yeah.
It's not up to him. It's not up to him. Yeah.
You know,
That's the probation.
So but you're just,
So I've been with this 39 years.
right.
So I did, 20-some years with Department of Corrections, retired as deputy warden, been the commander here for 14 years. As we discussed earlier, in the Chin report too, it just shows our spikes of population,
yeah.
different times of year for different reasons. But as far as jail population, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
No matter who's in administration in Washington, and jail population is very, very consistent.
Okay.
So, I mean, I talked to a sergeant this morning that went out and worked in Stone Garden yesterday, and he apprehended in just a 4-hour period 13 different UDAs in 3 different incidents.
Really?
So it's not, I mean, it's not as public and it's not as, I mean, we don't have 12 high-speed chases every week like we used to, but it's still happening.
Okay, well, I think that we probably ought to hear more about that as far as what the statistics are, the trends and so on. Do you think that, Madam Gomez?
We could set that up.
I mean, you probably involve probation too, and I thought,
Right.
and especially after the change over, and saw how many probation people violators we actually put in jail all the time. And said, is your goal to put people in jail or to succeed or
Justice. Triple. Right.
So I think that's in our area.
And when you're not going to lobby, you say you're not going to lobby. I am going to lobby for it. I don't know if you should.
I'm going to.
And so
Yeah.
we probably need, I don't know how to do with open meetings law, but I think we need to figure out some kind of strategic market, plan, campaign, whatever you want to call it, in some whatever form. That we go on.
Like we talked about, we can do it individually so we don't run afoul of the state law on that. So
Yeah.
we'll talk more on
So
that. But
can I ask a question?
sure.
And I don't want to interrupt.
No.
I only got 1 minute to do my slide and
What do you mean?
I'm almost done and I think I
What do you mean you only got 1 minute? Are you on a clock somewhere? Or you got a hot lunch date at 11:30 or something?
Skip all this, hey, let's go to the CMAR. I mean, unless,
Delivery methods, yeah.
or not CMAR, that's what I meant.
I mean, we're pretty
Yeah,
much,
so I guess-
we've talked a lot about budget.
One thing I do want to say that's real important, because once we get into this and we get into construction, we will have an on-site construction manager that will be watching this as it's going to help with with the budget, cost control. So I'm done with my slide.
It'll go to delivery.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So we do this, student schedule management, other scopes of services that was procured back when we did our procurement. This is what we understood was asked of us, again, up for discussion. But okay. That's really small up there. Okay. Focusing on some delivery methods. So this will be a big decision. There's a lot more than this, but these are the 3 that are allowed by law and I think are the most common for a detention facility. So I'm going to touch just kind of high level and then feel free to ask questions, but I'm going to jump to the bottom first, the design, bid, build. That one's your traditional method where you hire the architect, they complete, I'm sorry, keep going. Right, this works. Oh, sorry. Okay, so they, it's just traditional. You hire the architect, they completely finish the design, you put those drawings out to bid, and then you select a contractor. The contractor is usually selected off of low price. And so the pros for this are that
You don't use past performance.
so design bid build is low.
Well, that's the last one I want to even look at then.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it,
Right.
to be
Yeah.
honest. But, so I can skip it. You have the rules there. But yeah, it's familiar. Very low risk, simple projects benefit from this. But honestly, even knowing what I know now, this is not one I would recommend.
Yeah.
Let's just skip it. So jump back to the top for construction manager at risk. CMAR for short. This one, the owner still holds separate contracts with the architect and the contractor, but the contractor is brought on earlier in the process, and so they are involved in the design phase. This is the one where you get a guaranteed maximum price. It usually is delivered sometime in construction documents, which is the last phase of the project. So pros are there's more cost control because the contractor's involved. They have input in the design. You get your guaranteed maximum price throughout design. There's definitely a lot of collaboration between the design team and the owner and the contractor. You help mitigate risk. So we can identify those ahead of time with the contractor's help and work through them. It is open book, so it's completely transparent. This is one where you were kind of talking about before. If there is savings in the project, that saving is returned to the owner, where it's not like design bid build. They give you a price, whether you spend it or not, you're paying for it.
Right.
So this one, it does have some cost savings available. And then we can condense the overall schedule because we can overlap the design and construction. We can actually start early site packages while we're still finishing the design, so we can condense that schedule. Some cons are that some people feel like it has a higher initial cost because of the guaranteed maximum price. There are some cost assumptions made due to the design not being complete. However, as the project goes on, it usually tends to have less change orders that are due to design gaps. So if scope changes, there's still change orders. Unknowns can still cause change orders, but not scope.
Well, sure, if you have your construction company working with the architect, and he could say, hey, you forgot this part, design that, or so, like, I get what you're getting at.
Yeah.
So if you get to the point on the other project where the architect did the design, the construction guy's like, hey, wait a minute, how do I build this? This isn't here.
Yeah.
Then you got to get a change order because he didn't bid that.
Yeah, if it's not on
And that's going to add costs. You get cost creep.
Yeah, in CMAR, there's a lot of design intent because they attend every design meeting. So they understand the intent. So say the drawings didn't imply that exactly, it's their responsibility to work with their trades for the intent. And so,
And I can tell you, working with engineers are really good at designing stuff, but they're not really good sometimes at building stuff. And we have people that are not really good engineers, but they build a lot of stuff. And when those two meet and that drawing package hits the factory floor and the person putting that together is like, who the heck designed this? Because now I got to take and fit this screw through this little tiny hole and get it over there because the engineer never took into account that I got to do this. So you have a construction company, it's probably the same, where the architect does something and the construction guy's like, how does he expect me to build this? But if they sat in the room together.
She's an engineer. So.
No offense. Well, I'm a project manager, so I'm more akin to this lady here. But I mean, I work with engineers all the time. So what I'm getting at though is a lot of times when they're doing whatever CAD model system that you guys use, they design it out. They never really put into the concept of what is it going to take to manufacture this or build this. But the guy that's building it does. And he comes in and he says, oh, wow, you're a mean engineer because you expect me to go through all this hassle to do this. So having the two of them in the room together, which I tend to do as we go from our prototype phase into our final design phase, I always bring the production people in to sit in there with them so they could say, hey, this is going to be really hard to manufacture. Could you change the design to make this easier or make that easier? And that's where, again, this part here, where you have your construction company coming in to do and at least take part of some of the design aspects of it. So they can say that is going to be a pain in the rear end to build, or it's going to be expensive to build if could you make a change to make this easier and it'll save money?
and I think that's key there too, because I mean, with material costs changing constantly and, whatever you want to, tariffs, whatever the reason may be, they're able, so let's just talk about stuff. Do you want concrete? Do you want steel pre-manufactured? They can provide input on the cost for that. Like as of right now, steel's, through the roof, so don't go that. So there's that type of conversation that an input that's invaluable for the design process. I do think for the CMAR, an inexperienced contractor can derail the project pretty quickly if they don't understand the process. So having an experienced owner or owner's rep to help manage that is key to that one. On this delivery method is used often, when you need multi-phase projects. They're a little more complex. It's very valuable on operational sites because, again, even during design, you can start working with, if it's going to be right next to the jail, what does your security look like? What measures do we need to take or change our phasing to help with operations and save costs that way?
So I understand that we are all agreeing that.
No. I'm just saying that, well, we got to see what that's going to cost. Okay. I don't know. That's what we haven't heard yet. So I'm just saying it tends to reduce risk.
We X'd off the bottom category.
Yeah, the bottom one, I'm not a big fan.
Or the middle one.
No, it was the bottom. So design build is the middle. Design build is more your one-stop approach. This is where
the lowest bidder gets it, not necessarily the most value.
Well, that's design bid build. So that's your close at the bottom.
No,
design build is your one-stop approach. The owner holds one contract with the contractor and the architect. So in this case, usually you contract with the contractor and the contractor contracts directly with the design team. So benefits of this are there's a single point of responsibility, one finger to point always. It can definitely reduce the project timeline. It's really collaborative because the design and the contractor are the designer and contractor are working hand in hand at all times. So a lot of times you can eliminate change orders because it was the contractor's literal responsibility for the design as well. Some cons or some owners feel like there's less owner input during design because the contractor is controlling it as well. So for example, if let's say options, I use the cell options. Does the county, does the sheriff office, do you guys want pre-manufactured cell? Do you want CMU? Do you want concrete cells? All of it has different reasons for being good or bad and opinions. But the contractor may not even allow that design decision to come to the table because one's way more expensive. Again, it doesn't have to be that way. I think with proper management, we can make sure the owner is, but that's just some people feel that way. So I just wanted to bring it up. And then again, we just got to make sure we're on top of the checks and balances because the contractor is controlling a lot of this and controlling the cost. That can be a little out of whack sometimes. So just got to manage it. Best used when fast delivery, the fastest delivery method, integrated solutions, it's good for that. And then also when there's penalties for completion. So a lot of schools or stadiums where, your football games, this day it has to be done, that type of stuff. So I think both of those are really good options for us. A lot of it's going to depend on your guys' needs, your goals, objectives. So we'll, at the time, sit down, work through it, talk, as we learn more about the project, we'll work with you to develop and make a recommendation on which of those two might be best for this.
In the design build, you say, you can give a penalty if they're not completing the schedule on time. And not that we have a lot of money, but just say, is this the system where also you get a bonus for maybe
Incentive fee.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can, so in both the top two, you can do that. So in this, on the actual bullet point, the penalties and stuff, but we call it like liquidated damages. So in the contract, you can write in, you have to be done within this amount of time or by this date, and for every day you're late, you get liquidated damages.
So a lot of stuff, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like a lot of stuff I do is a lot of times what we'll do is we'll guarantee labor and schedule, but we won't guarantee material because of inflation. So what I'll do is I'll sign up sort of a fixed labor at a pre-negotiated rate, so the government knows exactly if I'm going X thousand hours at this rate, and I sign up for that because that's what I know I can do the project for. But what I don't sign up for a lot of times is I don't guarantee material unless the government pays me in advance to buy it all in advance and warehouse it. And I charge them for that too. I charge them for warehouse, which they don't like to do. So I put them at risk for material. I put the government at material risk, but I guarantee labor and schedule. So I don't know if that's possible in this.
The one thing I would add to this is and Phil touched on it earlier, is we have to ensure that we're staying within the state and
The state procurement code, I'm not 100% familiar with because I don't build missiles for Arizona. So I don't know.
understood, but I just wanted to.
But I'm talking about the federal acquisition laws. I'm very familiar with, but I'm just trying to use examples.
As they're getting at, there's ways to put incentives or disincentives
Right.
into your contracts.
Right. I'm looking again at the risk side. So a lot of this is what I'm hearing here is we could with regard to who's sharing the risk or who's getting the risk. I guess we got to get a master class on state procurement code.
Yeah, kind of to just touch on that a little bit, like very, very high level is often when we get like guarantee maximum price, it does include material. Now, what you do end up seeing in there is contingencies, or allowances. And so if we know that there's a design gap or unknown in the drawings, but yet it's not there, so it can't be priced specifically by the subs, the contractor will put in like a line item for whatever it may be, and they'll have an allowance that they can then spend towards as they buy out the process or buy out the project. Or we have what we call design contingency or escalation contingency, contractor contingency that all sit within the GMP. And it's for things like that. So the contractor is talking to their subs all through design. They're getting feedback. They still have to bid it. They still are required to get 3 bids or attempt to get, best effort to get 3 bids, come in, so that it remains competitive. But we have a good idea of where the cost is going to end up. Now, if something does happen, like I was on one project where the barge got stuck and we couldn't get any of our material and costs skyrocketed. So, there's contingencies built in to where hopefully it'll cover some of that unknown and risk, I guess. On outside of the GMP, the contractors GMP, we also carry an owner's contingency within your budget. So it's all still built into that max budget that we help you manage. And that owner's contingency is for some of those, acts of God that nobody could have predicted if it does go over, or if there's scope creep. Let's say we're going through something, you guys decide, oh, we didn't think about this, or, oh, this changed because one of the judicial system aspects changed and now we need to build this in, so it's scope creep. So we have those contingencies. I don't try not to confuse you guys, but contingencies built in, buckets of money that we can pull from to keep us from going over that, let's just assume 120 cap. That makes sense? Or too much.
The good thing with the owner's contingency, if you don't use it or have to use it, then
Get your
money that you get back to your money.
Sure.
Yeah.
What part would our procurement department have in all of this?
Well, they would oversee with the owner's rep, working hand in hand with the owner's rep to ensure that the procurement policies and contracting are being done according to state statute. So
Okay, well, that's what the chair mentioned a minute ago. Was that so? Perhaps Ms. Coppola can be in attendance for.
sure, she has been a part of this phase as we bid out for the project manager or the the owner's rep. She was part of that, coordinated that procurement, so she would be coordinating future procurement as well.
And what we kind of floated was we have about 10 million bucks right now that's come in from the current tax that has since, as in a week will be suspended. And to set that aside as a management reserve for cost incurred that we may not see, and to pay you guys for this designing, planning phase of going up until the election. Once the election happens, the tax doesn't get turned back on until July 1st. So we have 6 months that we have to use the funds currently available that has come in so far. And then whatever's left, we would set that aside, go out for the bonds, get the 100 or 120 million or whatever for the bond, and then we would have the 20 million from the state, the grant or whatever you call it, that would give us somewhere between 120 to 140 total to play with. That's where the 130
That's where the
million,
130
million was splitting the baby in there somewhere. That was the thing. So, and then we would have this, let's just say $10 million as a reserve for risk, whether it's material inflation or whatever, that blows us above the 130, for example, that we could tap into to pay that down. If we don't see that risk, we put that into the bond and pay the bond off early. We take that 10 million and then throw it on there so we can get our bond paid off faster. That's what I was looking at.
Don't bond for as much. If it passes, then you just
Well,
don't bond
well,
for as much because you've got that.
Having done this on the other side, there's always Murphy that loves to crawl in no matter what, right? We may get in the middle of this project, we may get, who knows, a shortage of steel because all of a sudden the Chinese are building another super huge big dam in the middle of somewhere in China and they suck up all the steel and steel prices go through the freaking roof, right? So I mean, that's
That
the,
could be part of your owner's contingency. And again, if you
right,
don't use
right.
it,
That's what I'm saying. So there's a,
better
there-
off having it than not having it. That's
if,
what you're.
if the contractor is going to eat that risk and he's going to have to eat the material inflation, then he's going to bid that in as a risk factor and add costs and to what he's going to put in. So that's what I'm saying. If we take that risk, what we'll get is we'll get a cheaper price. But if the price of steel goes up, the contractor's going to come to us and say, hey, I guarantee the schedule and the labor cost to build this thing. And this is what I was given as a budget for material. That budget has now gone to this number because of the Chinese building a dam somewhere. And I need the government to cover the difference. And then we would tap that 10 million bucks to cover that difference. That's what I'm getting at.
Is that the point? That was another question. Is that in every construction, like I see it in the hospital, whatever, right? There's always a built-in cost overrun. Is that what you call it? Where you're assuming that nothing is ever going to be for that price. So you have to budget in for some prices, right?
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Shannon.
Sharon?
Shannon.
Shannon. So Shannon talked about the risk register, right? So a good contractor that has done this before knows where the risks are, what the unknowns are, and you basically put a risk factor on there of a percentage of some kind, right? So
the risk factor is kind of another word for saying over.
right, let's just say we get a real long monsoon season, right? That normally you get 2 weeks of weather, and now we're going to get 6 weeks. We get 6 weeks. So she builds a risk register and says the potential for weather delays is standard is 2 weeks, but she's going to put in a risk register a risk of 6 weeks, and she will add in what I would call a likelihood factor of what is the likelihood of that happening. Is it 50% chance it's going to happen, 20% chance, and then you build that in as sort of an additional cost factor. You factor it, and then you build
the environmental study.
yeah. So whatever, right? So back to the weather delay, let's say. So let's just say that there's a 25% chance, right? So she will pull 25% as a factor to add into that schedule. So she'll put a 25% factor. If that doesn't materialize, then that's where some of the cost savings you saw in their chart where it came in 5% less or 8% less. If that risk doesn't materialize, then we save money.
Here's a quick example of a way to mitigate. So there was some risk built in. We have the contractor's contingency, right? And the risk minimized of my last job as we got farther along in the project. So as those risks minimized, we were actually able to give some of that contingency back because we knew that they weren't going to need that big of a bucket of contingency. So they were willing to release, because the risk went down in the project as a whole. They were able to release 20% of that back to the owner, and you just do a reduced change order. So the contract value reduces for that 20%. So now your contingency bucket's now reduced because your risk is minimized. And so that's just a really rough, quick example of something like that.
Oh, Mr. Crosby.
I believe that I haven't heard, when are we going to determine the costs that we're talking about for the publicity pamphlet, which I believe you said was coming out early August.
Sure.
Almost.
Not coming in, but we are, so the clerk of the board prepares the publicity pamphlet. She's got it, a rough draft. I haven't looked at it again this week, but she's got a rough draft put together minus all the pro-con arguments because that deadline is August 6th for those. So we have our frequently asked questions. We have the voter information, deadlines, information from the recorder about when to register to vote, where the voting locations will be since the board just approved the vote centers. So a lot of that is kind of a template that you just fill in. So information that we gather and put together. The frequently asked questions is probably the most editable section of the publicity pamphlet because that's specific to the jail district question.
Because
And I'll be sending that to you guys to
talked about 120 million, and then Frank just said 130 million, and that's obviously 10 million difference. And there is the factor that I talked about, the magic penny, which is if you want people to vote for it more, make it less, make it cost
Right.
less.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we've already gone from something like 330 million or something like that down to 120 million.
It won't be more, the bond won't be more than 120, so it'll be between 100 and 120.
Okay,
For the
why,
bond.
why, now it's the bond is going to be 120.
Right, 'cause the bond's not the budget.
Right, the bond is not the budget.
I know.
Right.
So you're talking about what's the cost going to be? Because all this stuff's got to be laid out. Because if you're going to say, okay, now it's 120 million for a bond, and then we got a free 20 million from the legislature, and then we got another 10 million. You're talking every time we're talking about it, it's going up. Okay, every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're gonna put something out there in a public, you know what I mean, a publicity pamphlet, it's got to be true, and if you want it to be the most likely to pass, it's got to be as low as it could be. My opinion.
We're giving a direction to design to cost to these guys, right? So we're going to give them a number. That number is, well, that's what we're saying. Right now, we were looking at around 120 to 130 million.
For a bond.
No,
No,
For the budget cost.
total cost to back into that number, right? And then, because we already got 10 million, we got 20 coming from the state. So theoretically, we would only have to bond for 100 million. You get me?
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay, right. So the bond is separate. The bond is the gap filler for the money we don't have. That's why we got to go borrow that money. So we got to go to get the bond for that. But we got 10 million. We're going to get another 20 million from the state. So there's 30 million in existence that exists right now. Let's just say,
Okay.
right? So if we design for 130 million, then we will probably.
Okay, anyway, when are we going to have this meeting to determine all the stuff that we're talking about?
Well, we're
Right
kind of
now?
we're kind of having it right now, but I mean,
Okay.
so once but they are not going to have a drawing package that they can
It's gotta
get.
be the publicity pamphlet.
But you can't.
That's
You're not.
So that, just to be clear.
Just to be clear?
Just to be clear, I want to put some boundaries on this conversation. So this is a conversation about the owner's route, and I don't want to go too far with the.
Outside of
That's fine.
Yeah.
But we're
So-
talking about all the stuff you've related.
But it's related.
Go over their experience and conclude their presentation, that would be helpful.
That's
because
one.
Really, I wanted to make sure you got the conclusion of their information so we could bring them back for a
Yeah, I
comment.
wasn't demanding that we.
No, I know.
No, but I mean,
But
when are we going to determine?
I agree with your county administrator. I don't want to get you into a position where you're going outside the scope of what we've advertised.
You're basically
Unfortunately.
Let's have them.
right. I got you, but what Mr. Crosby's trying to get at is a key point because it all comes down to the publicity pamphlet.
Got to be true.
And it's but it's not absolute. Let's be clear,
Yeah,
right?
it can't.
It can't. It's not an absolute because
Then
they
it's
have
gotta
no.
be the best.
Which is not.
Right. They have no design. They have no. They have no bids. They have no.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I'm just one of those guys that has dealt with this before. Please, I advise you, discuss that at a later. I don't want you to get into.
Yeah, we got to
So-
just lay that out.
Well,
Because it's not agenda.
you guys had asked earlier what our experience had been.
Oh, yeah.
Experience on the actual jails. So here's one that Cody had a lot of influence and work on.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned, the Hayes County Jail expansion. So
Where's Hayes County?
in Texas, San Marcos, Texas.
Oh, wow, Texas.
So the jail was $64 million. It was part of a larger public safety bond program, so there's other projects in there, multiple sites. But it was, to your point, it was master planned at 1,100 beds. So for our initial phase, we actually had to demo their fleet warehouse maintenance building so we could move it so that we could expand onto the jail. So once we did that, we built the 192 beds, new addition with all of the support space, the kitchen, the laundry, classification, medical, everything that would support 1,100 beds. So that, and just exactly like you were describing, as the county decided to expand in a modular fashion, which we mastered, and all the how that would look, it would minimize disruption to operations. After the addition was complete, we moved the inmates into the new addition and started phase renovation of the 300 beds until they could afford to demo those and build new. This one was a CMAR delivery in 2021, with an idea of cost. Next was the Pueblo County Detention Center working on this now. This one's a brand new site. It's 165 million. It went to VMP in 2023 to give you an idea of where that cost came from. Also master planned at 1,200 beds. First initial phase is 672 beds with all this.
This one's more of a comp to what we're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Now this one's also CMAR. It's anticipated to be complete next year, and when it is complete, it'll be the first net zero energy detention center in the United States. So that's,
And when did you start this one?
we started in 20
So I assume,
December.
is this in California?
No, that's in Colorado.
That's in Colorado. Okay, just the same Colorado, California.
Oh, the same. I take no.
The hit me ratio is pretty similar. So, what,
Similar.
what I'm getting at here, well, aside of what I don't know was the added cost of being net zero, 165 million for 672 beds. If you scale that down to 400 or 350 or whatever, then you're probably in the 130, 120 million dollar range.
You can't scale. Detention is interesting because one, I mean, this includes site work. So again, it's new site work. We were bringing in utilities. It was kind of built in the middle of nowhere, to be honest. And so there's some of that. Also, the type of bed changes cost dramatically. So you really can't take it on a first basis.
Very spacious cells in that photo right there.
So this is the day room that you're looking at, and then all of theirs, those are the 88 cells, but all of those, or no, they're not, because they're on the top level, and the showers are below it. But anyway, they're all double bunk. So they did double bunk. They added square feet so that they could add a third bunk. So that is another part of their expansion plan. So a lot goes into the type of beds. They have dorms. Dorms are cheaper. That's the cheapest type of bed. Psych cells the most expensive. I mean, it's so hard to just take a bed count and a cost without it doesn't.
And all the details.
Yeah,
And the one thing
You got to build beds that you can't turn into shanks and stuff,
Yeah,
right? You got to have, there's certain beds you
regardless.
can and can't use because inmates will use them for other things.
I mean, there's detention quality construction.
Yeah.
Obviously, but what they're talking about is if I put 16 people in a dorm,
They'll be
it's a lot cheaper than if I put 16 single cells.
Right.
So maximum is way more.
But that's where you come in and kind of give us the ratios and the mixes.
Yeah, our current 12 different custody levels or
Yeah.
classifications.
And as part of the discussion with the sheriff's staff, we would want to talk about designing a cell, even if you had single man or woman cells. We would want to talk about the cost and the ability to size them a little bit bigger. So if there was a time when you needed to put another bed pan in there, you could actually double your population for that unit or that area, which would be minimal cost probably.
And I believe like this one has around 70 mental health beds, which changes cost. They do have a clinic, a medical clinic, and a small infirmary. So there was cuts that they did elsewhere. They wanted a full-blown infirmary to bring other inmates in and they could afford. So again, there's so much.
Yeah, I got you. They're not 100% identical, but I mean, it's ballparky, similar.
It is.
It is similar. Okay.
Adams County, this is another jail. It's a larger detention facility. They're overcrowded. They have a lot of similarities.
Where's this at?
It's in Adams County at Colorado.
Oh, Colorado.
Right outside Denver.
Yeah,
Where is Adams County, Colorado?
it's right next to Denver.
It's
Between
like a
Denver-
suburb county of Denver County?
Right outside. It's between Denver and the airport.
Yeah, the Denver Airport, big approach actually is in
Right.
$600 million.
Yeah, 1,600 beds. It's a CMAR delivery. So, but there's a lot of similarities to their budget appears to be much lower than what their needs are. So we're doing a lot of working with them to value engineer and to find creative ways to still meet their immediate needs.
Do you have a number
And-
of population?
That's going some.
Oh, it's got to be pretty big.
Is their
Yeah.
average daily bed count like?
Yeah, it's
Online?
well over.
No, but they're-
No,
No, the population of the county,
No,
like,
he's talking
we got
about-
a
it's
100
well over 200 and something.
533,000.
Oh, 'cause that's how.
Wow. 500, half a million.
four times the size of ours,
Yeah, and
hence 4 times the size of the jail.
and like the super,
Yeah, we're like at 400, they're at like 1,600.
it's growing significantly.
Yeah. Well, our hope is to grow significantly too.
Not your jail population.
Not the jail population. No.
Everybody's gonna phase.
So James A. Music, this is another jail facility, $290 million, 512 beds. We master planned this for programming specific. So there's programming that was put in for 384 additional beds later down the road. This is one of those, it was a design bid build. So what we were talking about, the traditional type of delivery, it's been completed. It was a successful project. The next one is, this is the San Mateo County Maple Street Correctional Facility, 200 million, 832 beds. Now, Mr. Chairman, I don't want you to get excited.
That's a redesign.
I don't want you, no, it's a new, but
That's a brand new jail?
look at the date.
Look at the date.
Look at the date. 'Cause
Okay. All right.
So now the one thing that's somewhat unique is I'll point out that it's a CMARS delivery, but there was a portion of it to streamline it and to help with the cost that the contractor did for the plumbing, mechanical, and electrical, that they did that in a design bid or design build delivery level. So, and again, as Phil said, we would want to, if we were thinking about that, we want to make sure it stays within the Arizona, the county procurement laws. And then what you'll see here, as you'd asked earlier, had we done jails, how many? That's a very small sampling of jails that we've done in various women's jails, men's, all different
Can you
types.
get in the county?
Happen. Yeah.
That's a skyscraper jail though.
So
No, we don't want a skyscraper. What's that?
Heliport.
and the last slide is questions.
Oh.
But
We've asked all.
we really do appreciate.
You don't know.
We appreciate you guys' time, your time, and actually your participation. That made it a lot easier and more enjoyable. It just, you've been very good. Appreciate it.
We're just, again, I can't reiterate enough of what Ms. Gomez hit on. We have a constituency that is very politically proactive. And if they sense that you're hiding something, if they sense that you're not being upfront and transparent, they will exploit that to your detriment dramatically.
And
they will-
misinformation too is
Right.
a huge thing.
So we want to make sure that, again, to Mr. Crosby's point, the key things, of course, is money. They want to know how much this is going to cost. They want to know how long it's going to take. They want to know when the tax is going to go away. That's kind of what we're trying to lay out in this publicity pamphlet. So look, Sharon's got it. She's going to lay out and she'll get with you guys and lay out the schedule for that. But it's basically that full blown thing, so they know. And then that dollar amount, we will have that discussion to set that dollar amount. But the directive we're kind of giving these people is designed to cost, right? We're telling them 130 is the ballpark. Try to come in under that, right? As under that as you can to meet the requirements that the sheriff's office puts out. So part of the discussion is going to have to include, here's the requirements for the jail. 500 person kitchen, 500 person potential infirmary, but 300 beds to start, and then the ability to add 200 or whatever later, but whatever that is. And then they take that and they go to see an architect, and that architect will kind of say, okay, this is what that's going to be. That'll give us the actual number. And he can come in and he can say, well, this is going to be 150 million. And we're going to say, okay, then we go through and say, okay, we've got to get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of that. So that whole process is
And
part of
it's
that.
not always getting rid of either. Sometimes it's changing the material type.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. We have to have
So
that.
there's lots
So
of
he can come back.
creative ways. to
But
get
that architect
through.
needs to know that his max is 130.
Yep.
And he's got to come in, and we would like him not to just design right to 130, right? If the requirement that the sheriff's office provides can get to, we can get that requirement for 120, then design to 120. But that's kind of,
And just when you're talking to people, if 130 is your max budget, that's your total project cost. Your actual brick and mortar budget will probably be about 25 to 30% lower than that.
so 100
Typically,
million-ish for the jail then.
So we're actually designing, because everything else is then your soft costs or surveys or
Right.
furniture, beds, whatever. So
We could buy those government surplus.
yeah, and hopefully we do have like a bill. You guys you bill things.
I see it on the website all the time. Joe's got like all these high schools are selling all their stuff, man. We can get it.
Quality material.
I know inmates are very, very intuitive on stuff like that.
Provide this, like, I think the sheriff is very important, I mean, folks, they have to be part of the city council. Any input that you can bring in, like, the other issue is what happens if you don't, and what our risk and liability are, not having a jail that is in such a poor condition. And I would encourage Supervisor Crosby to go see it, because that is, visualization of what that is a huge reason why I'm for it. So what is the timeline that we're working with so that I can start lobbying for it and have all the information I know I'm going to ask to speak with the sheriff's department, because of the open meetings law, I don't know if we want to do it in all of us or single, but whatever way that is. So what are we looking that I can next hit the ground running and be knowledgeable about what you all are doing that can contribute to help me get this thing to go?
So August 5th was going to bring it to you guys officially to award a contract.
Okay.
But I think like the chairman was saying,
It'll be, yeah, all right. So
Yeah, I don't have a final scope. I want to make sure. They'll have to provide me a final scope, which shouldn't be too hard, but I have to give them the time to provide that. As soon as they provide it and we agree that it's appropriate, which is one of the conditions, we would put it on the agenda immediately. And I'll work with county administration to get on this. We're good.
3 weeks. I mean, that's just what I
How
want.
long do you think you can provide a scope and fee?
We could get it. What day is it? Wednesday. We'll have it to you by the end of next week.
Okay.
Is that?
Thank you. Thank you. I just didn't want to commit. I'm sorry.
No.
Work as fast as we can.
So possibly August 5th agenda.
Under promise, over deliver.
Well, I didn't want to put a professional on, I at least wanted to ask him, like,
Thank you. No, we'll get that. I mean, pretty much know what the scope is. We'll get it to you.
I had
It's
not.
got to be real.
Yeah, we already did a draft scope. It's just got to be changed with the fee. That's all. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
That's all right.
That's good.
As quick as we can. And that's the key.
Because this is a special situation, and I think maybe.
And I can,
I'm waiting for a vote to be able to go forward.
We actually.
Sometimes you guys are coming in after the fact where the money's been secured.
Yeah.
And this is a unique
and I
situation.
can ask them as they're preparing the scope to give us some milestones.
Yeah.
That maybe could be used.
I mean, they've got it kind of laid out, like I said, on that one slide with the circles,
I'm not worried about that.
right?
Mr. Bradshaw, please stay in attendance for just a few minutes after we adjourn. Sure.
I just want to talk to one of them. Okay.
Anybody can Guys, don't violate it.
Yeah, we want to,
Sharon can listen.
any other questions for,
About to adjourn, say when the next meeting.
yeah,
Because tomorrow I will be attending on Teams.
okay, all right. So any other questions? No other questions? Well, guys, thanks for coming in. Appreciate the presentation. It's good information. There's 3 slides in here that I care about.
What 3 are those?
Well, the circle slide,
Yeah. But I skipped
the,
over.
the contracting mechanism slide,
You knew that one would be.
and then where was the other one? This one, yeah,
The night.
yeah. Yeah.
It's we were going to totally skip
Yeah.
over.
It's all,
Like, just skip over these two.
all cost and schedule, cost and schedule.
We
cost and
will get to
schedule.
know
That's-
it
that's-
better and then.
That's
That
the
will
world. That's the world we live in, cost and schedule. So, but anyways, appreciate it. And any help you could give us expediting, as Ms. Gomez and Mr. Crosby said, we are trying to get as much information out there as possible. So having that to put in a publicity pamphlet would be very helpful. So, all right.
Do you have any?
So
We do.
Okay.
I guess
I'll share.
our people will talk to your people and then we'll take it from there. So tomorrow, I'm reading this and I'm going
You
to,
can count on Ms. Gilman to
so
write.
tomorrow we're supposed to meet to canvass or certify? That is the question.
It's actually certified and the agenda item is miswritten.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it should say certify, right?
Yes. And it shouldn't say, it should, well, this isn't the time.
We will
No.
consult the attorney.
All right, we'll consult with the attorney, but we'll be meeting tomorrow to canvass or certify, depending on that, the election results for the Raul Grijalva special election. What's that?
CD7.
CD7. It was for Raul.
Well, it's not 40.
But the guy died
Replace it. Replace it.
to replace his seat, the poor guy, whether you like him politically or not, he passed on. But anyways, for the special election. So that's it. So I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow by Teams. All right. Thanks again. Coming in. Appreciate it. All right, we're adjourned.